Hi everybody, welcome back to part 2 of what life is like in our house and what Dale is like and the levels that he's at. I got him off the bus and I'm sure you'll probably see him dancing around in the background because he loves to stretch his legs and dance and watch a little TV when he gets home. And you might see Lucy and Rocco. Rocco is our Great Dane mix and Lucy's our pit bull, which we do have 4 dogs. We've got 2 pit bulls, a Great Dane, and a beagle. So the house is a little full sometimes. Anyways, got Dale off the bus, getting ready to make him some lunch, and thought that I would finish up this video while I am still on that train of thought. So anyways, we ended up with me starting to get help at our local regional center. We were assigned a brand new coordinator. She had just graduated, just gotten the job, and she was amazing. I owe so much to her. I mean, I don't think I will ever be able to tell Christian what she means to us because of what she did for us. And the next thing I know, the wheels are in motion and everything's going, and I'm finding out about things that I didn't even know were a possibility, which is amazing. And before I knew it, she got us, I think it was like 10 hours of respite care a month, which meant that somebody that was trained would come in and take care of Dale and allow Kevin and I to go out, or me to go shopping, or a date night for us or something like that, which was just unimaginable. It was amazing. So then I found out that there were these things called waivers that were available through our state. I don't know if it's something that's available through every state, but it was available through our state. And the waiver was basically so much money that would be put aside every year for Dale's care, and for basically not just his care, for making his life better and making him get to the point where he can be a functioning member of society, which is great because the things that we were doing just wasn't working and we needed help. As much as I hated to admit that I couldn't do it on my own, we needed help. So let me take you through what Dale was like at that point. Dale we were trying very, very, very hard to get him potty trained. We were almost there a few times, but then he would wind up in the hospital or something like that, and everything would stop. So he was still wearing pull-ups. He was still having probably 7 or 8 accidents a day, and these accidents were like mammoth accidents. Not just little tinkles like you would think. No, he would flood an entire building if he had one. He didn't speak. He was completely nonverbal. He didn't use any kind of communication other than grabbing our hand and taking us where he wanted to go, or putting our hand on whatever he wanted. There was no speech, sign language. He did make a lot of noises. He kind of looked you in the eye sometimes, but he wouldn't really pay attention to things. He refused to sit at the table and eat. So to feed him, we would have to basically just stick food in his mouth as he wandered around the house. He would drink out of a sippy cup and throw it on the ground whenever he was done with it. Whenever he didn't get what he would want, he would have these enormous temper tantrums where he would ball up his fists and hit his head as hard as he could. If that didn't get our attention, he would start banging his head against the wall, or we have ceramic tile flooring throughout our house. He would get down on the floor. Sorry, Rocco hit my tripod. But he would get down on the floor and start whacking his head on the ceramic tile. And our pediatrician is one that was just like, oh, he'll never hit himself hard enough to hurt. But I was terrified he was going to end up with a brain injury or something. There were also times he would absolutely refuse to get in the car when we would go places, and he would try to run off, and I was terrified he was going to get hit. So life was really, really difficult. He was having a lot of sleeping issues. He was having to sleep with Kevin and I because he wandered so badly at night. We couldn't take him to other people's houses because he would destroy things. These meltdowns, the meltdowns and the temper tantrums were different. The meltdowns were like he would just go into his own little world and zone out and just beat the crap out of himself. it was just terrifying. So we really needed help. So we had a team meeting that had all the people in our team together for Dale's care. The team meeting included somebody who was going to provide care for Dale whenever we weren't there. It provided a behavior analyst who would implement behavior therapy with him. It had the coordinator, all of his teachers at school, even including the gym teachers and everything like that, and then me and Kevin. And all of us sat down together and went over Dale's case to try to get him on the right path and as much help as he possibly could. And unfortunately, there was supposed to be a pretty long waiting list with some of the different services. Somehow we managed to just sail right to the top of the list, and everything fell into place the way it should. So the very next week, the behavior analyst started sending out therapists to do observations with Dale. And wouldn't you believe it, the first person that came out that did observations, Dale was just an absolute angel. I mean, he was fantastic that day. So I know the lady left like, this lady's nuts, this kid's great. So they sent another one out about 3 days later, and we were starting to have a few problems. So she could see through the facade and see things were going on. The last behavior therapist that came out was the lady that we work with now, Amy, and she is amazing. And she had broken her hip. I had broken my foot. I was on one of those little cart things that you wheel around. She was on crutches, and she wanted to see what Dale was like out in the community. So we took her to Walmart to go shopping. It was a nightmare. She got to see exactly what we were going through. And it was a nightmare. The trip was a nightmare. And then getting him in the car took about an hour, and it was like trying to get a 70-pound battering ram that was completely and totally stiff in the back seat of a car. So it was just crazy. And she said, this family needs help now. So the very next week we started working. And we came up with, a few things that we wanted to work on, one of which was communication. Because if Dale had the ability to communicate, it would change things completely. And another thing was that we were going to work on community trips because we had to be able to go out into the community. So we decided to work on those two things to start with. And then I also had to chart everything. So anytime you would have a temper tantrum, anytime you would have a meltdown, anytime things like that would happen, I had to mark it down. So, it was pretty intensive for the first 6 weeks or so, but it was totally worth it. So that's when we started implementing the picture system that I've done a video about. That gave him a successful way to communicate with us. We started working with taking him into the community. We also started, and this was so difficult for me, whenever he would throw a fit or have one of his tantrums, I had to ignore him. We did buy a helmet to put on his head to protect his head, and then I couldn't look him in the eye. Whenever he would have one of these meltdowns, I would have to just look down like this and protect him and help him, but not pay any attention to him and do everything just as cleanly as possible. That totally freaked Dale out because Dale was used to, hitting himself a few times, and we were at his beck and call, and we would twist ourselves into a pretzel to do whatever he wanted. And that's what the main problem was, is that somewhere along the line, we lost control and Dale took control. So that was the big issue there, is we needed to take control back and be the parents. So we did a lot of different things. We got a visual timer, which was wonderful. It was a visual timer that could tell him how long we had before we did something. We would take him to restaurants and make him sit and make him eat, and he realized he enjoyed going out instead of me getting upset when he would throw a fit and leaving in the middle of our meal. We started making him sit at the table. We started making him feed himself. We worked on potty training more. I mean, the amount of work we all did, it was a lot of work. I'll admit that. It was a lot of work. But you know what? The payoff was amazing. The payoff was just absolutely amazing. We went from having 7 meltdowns a day to having maybe 1 or 2 meltdowns every 2 or 3 months. We also went from not being able to sit at a table to sitting at a table, feeding himself on his own, getting up, pushing the chair in on his own, wiping his face, and doing things like that. He is virtually potty trained now. He does have some colon issues from time to time that really wreak havoc there. But we went through going through 7 diapers a day to going through maybe 3 or 4 diapers a week. And they're not really diapers. They're those pull-up things that older kids wear. So we've got that. He communicates very effectively. His facial expressions and his noises are such that you almost forget he's nonverbal. And there's times that I think he's going to spit a word out. And I honestly believe he's going to do that at some point. But it's still a challenge sometimes. There's still things that we have to work on. But I never in a million years dreamed that we would be able to do what we can do now. Especially the way that things were for about 4 or 5 years before we started this program. Because we couldn't go to dinner, we couldn't go on vacation, we couldn't go out with family. Nobody invited us to do anything. We were like the part of the family that nobody talked about and that everybody just kind of tried to forget about. Now, well, yesterday was my birthday. My dad took us out for pizza and we had a great time. And then the week before that, we went to Red Lobster for Father's Day and my stepmom's birthday and our anniversary. We go swimming at our local health club. There was a picnic over the weekend we were invited to. Dale has friends that he goes out with. He went to one of the local ball games a couple weeks ago. We're able to do things now and we're able to perform like every other family in the world performs. And I think when you go through a period of your life that you're not able to do those things, you treasure it so much more whenever you get the chance to do it. And it's so nice. I mean, the little victories are so exciting. And I think when you look at somebody that has an average child, something like learning to feed yourself or learning to drink through a straw or pushing in your chair is not really a big deal. But when you see a child come from nothing and no communication, no eye contact, nothing, to being able to do all of these things, it's just the most amazing thing in the world. And you realize how wonderful life really is. And I want to take you back to me saying that before Dale came along, I was like the most spoiled brat in the world. And I was so judgmental and such a butthead. And having Dale has taught me so much. And, you know, I say he's the biggest blessing that has ever came into my life. And, you know, there's those idiot trolls out there on YouTube and on the internet that say, oh, that's not a blessing. You know, how can you look at that as a blessing? But when you live it every day, it is. Because Dale teaches you true unconditional love. You know, when I was 16 years old, I remember telling my mother that I hated her because she wouldn't buy me this Armani backpack that I wanted at the time. And I just thought it was the most horrible thing in the world. I was so mad at her and she was so evil because she wouldn't buy me this backpack. My son is 16 years old. He will never look at me and tell me that he hates me because I won't buy him something. And you know what? When he wakes up in the morning, he has a big smile on his face and he's just happy to see me. And he just wants a hug and some love and he wants to go to school. And that is just the most beautiful thing in the world because it's true unconditional love. And it is true loving somebody without conditions. And in this day and age, that doesn't happen very much. And to see how pure he is and how innocent he is and how loving he is, it's such a treasure. And I wish that everybody could see that. And all of the work that we've done with him in the last 5 years, I'm so proud of him. It's not us, it's him. I'm so, so proud of him. And it's just great. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for listening to me. If you like this video, click thumbs up. And I would absolutely love to have you subscribe to my channel. And that way you can get notified whenever there's any new videos coming out. So you have a great day. Stay cool, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.